a little bit about how you use the parking lot or what that means for you?
Yeah, just the biggest thing about it is stuff is going to come up that people will want to talk about. And a well-managed parking lot will help move the training along. So while the good stuff that does come out of it, you'll be able to address, you don't have to address it during the training. So the two things that need to happen is, number one, the trainee needs to believe that the parking lot will actually happen, you know, and the trainer needs to make sure that they're following up on the parking lot. So if something actually goes into the parking lot, in order for it to work, the trainee's got to believe that, yeah, either that following day, either with an email, either with like a slight, hey, this is the person you want to talk to about this, but there needs to be some kind of follow-up, or else there's no trust there. And if there's no trust, then the person's got every reason to believe, hey, I need to ask this now. You know, but if you can drive home that idea that, yep, anything that goes into the parking lot will be followed up after the training, or even during the training. Like if you're doing this over the course of several days, it's the kind of thing where that trainer will follow up with you one way or the other. And there's different ways, whether it's a discussion about that particular topic between the trainer and the trainee outside of the training time. That's one way of doing it. It could be a matter of the trainer pointing the trainee in the direction of the right person to have that conversation with. So, oh, that's actually a conversation for your supervisor, for the director, or for this other outreach worker. Then that kind of follow-up is happening. But there needs to be some kind of follow-up. It can't just simply be, we're going to put that in the parking lot and never follow up on it.
Okay. So another thing that I was thinking about, this idea of a shared learning piece, is this concept that this is kind of either a locker room or practice kind of stuff where
I wouldn't use the term locker room.
Okay.
You remember Donald Trump and locker room talk? It's just locker room talk.
Oh, no, I totally.
Donald Trump has managed to ruin whole parts of our vocabulary.
So this is a practice or rehearsal space. Practice space. So there, no dumb questions, or no, I don't want to say dumb questions. I want to say,
how about this is a safe place to make mistakes?
Mistakes.
This is a safe place to make mistakes. People will come into this training with preconceptions and assumptions that may need to be confronted. And the only way to actually confront them is for this to be a safe place for you to bring those kinds of things. To be able to recognize, I might have something wrong about this, and it's okay for me to talk about that.
Okay. So we have that for the trainees. We'll go over to the next page, which is organization individual that successfully supports homeless youth. Take the principles based on the approach of their work, blah, 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 blah. That's journey oriented. And this is all from that.
These are those 9 principles. Yeah.
9 principles. So when we say terms to know, what are the additional terms that we want to add to this?
Good question.
So cultural competence.
I don't think we're using the term cultural.
Or cultural, what do we say? Cultural.
It was cultural responsiveness. Cultural responsiveness.
Responsiveness. Trauma-informed care.
Yes. Yep. Trauma-informed care, harm reduction. Those are big things. Active listening in stages of change.
Active listening stages of change.
I would think vicarious trauma.
Vicarious trauma. Trauma care, harm reduction, active listening, stages of change. Let's just go through that list.
And I think we'll come up with more things for that glossary.
Okay.
Developing more content, I think we'll come across more things, don't you?
Yep.
All right.
So governing laws. So I need to add these laws in the in there. Oh, another term is mandatory
Mandated reporter.
Mandated reporter. Where's So this is street books. Okay. All right, so I will look up these laws and put those in the document. Introduction to street outreach. So what is street outreach? Is there a definition that you use, or is there should I just pull something?
Is there a definition that we use?
So what is it and why is it important?
I wonder if we're going to be... That is a very good question. I think we need to revisit it. I don't think I have an answer for you right now. Like what definition we would use of street outreach.
Yeah. Because
we have the definition that's in the street outreach manual, but that's not complete. I mean, that's old.
Oh.
I'm wondering if we had.
But I guess the question for the question is the facilitator to be able to answer that, because this could be the question just for the participant.
Right.
Because this is the participant manual.
Right.
So what does this mean to you?
So that I should probably develop a to-do list of things that. No, I'll just use this as my to-do list. All right, a definition of street outreach. I think that might be a good place to talk about the fact that we've kind of changed the definition, because it was a more literal kind of you're doing outreach on the streets kind of thing.
Yeah.
When we first started to define it in that manual, and we can talk about how we've moved from that definition to street outreach being a certain population that we do outreach with. And that doesn't happen always on the street. Sometimes it happens, you know, in community centers, and it happens in schools and things like that. So street outreach. Expand the definition. And outreach on street to I think I'm going to have to come back to you on that one. But I think we might be able to make a nice point there.
So do we have quotes from youth or people who we've served that we can put in this? As examples.
This is stuff we'll have to come up with.
Is there an annual report that this stuff might be in?
There might be. We always have a tough time with the quotes thing.
Okay.
From the clients, but we could get quotes from actual outreach workers. We could come up with something ourselves.
Do you have any of those journals entries, key journal entries from outreach workers?
You mean the trainees?
Yep. In the past, you said they every so often that you get.
Well, I get their homework basically.
Yeah.
So when they complete the homework, I've got that.
In their homework, is there anything that could fulfill cases?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if we would go with a new trainees quote on that.
Okay.
So this is a new thing, this idea of the quotes and examples.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about this before, and this might take me a little effort to get that in there. So I can work on that tonight and come up with at least some rough drafts of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then we may find ourselves finding better quotes and stuff, but at the very least, we can have something to plug in there tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I can work on those things. Give me a second, I'm gonna get a highlighter so I know to go back through and hit certain points on this. All right. So then going back, getting some quotes on this stuff. Use a quote from a youth who experienced youth outreach that illustrates the core principles in action.
It would be easier if all those things weren't a PDF and they were all documents because then I could just.
Can you not cut and paste from a PDF?
I can, and I will.
Okay. How's it going, Paul?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
All right, so the content for why is practicing cultural responsiveness so important to outreach work? Is that going to be on you to come up with the content, and it'll be on me to come up with the quote?
Yep, you come up with the quote and I'll do the content.
Nice, okay,
The
all
three
right,
things in the culture stuff, those three things, I'll do that.
okay, awesome,
I got that covered.
awesome. So do's and don'ts.
We kind of talked about that
Okay.
a little bit. So I'll put together something and then
Okay.
I'm listening in. If you need my input, then I'll. On this.
so as I look at this, so so this classroom 101,
Mhm.
module 2, and then it stops and goes to module
201.
201, module 1. Are they just trying to show us? how
I
these
think
parallel?
that's the template. So module 1 is, hold on.
Oh, so module 2 would be.
Where's the module overviews? It's not a, I want to make sure I have their vision in my head. All right. Because this looks like 101 for module 1.
Yep.
201 for module 1.
Yep.
So if module 1 is, module 1 would be the, here's a listing of different modules.
This is what we're.
Are these it? Are these the different modules? Yes, that's what they are. So the first one is Introduction to Street Outreach. The second one is Practicing Cultural Responsiveness. The third one is Community Partners. So the third module is Community Partners. Fourth module is Setting Boundaries, Managing Expectations.
Yeah.
Personal Safety is module number 5. Module number 6 is Approaches to Engaging with Youth. Harm Reduction is module 7. And then Working with Sexually Exploited Youth would be module 8, if I'm reading this right.
Yeah, I think you are in.
And then there's Classroom 101.
Yep, and then classroom 2.
201.
Yep.
And then there would be a set of, well,
So this is, so when we look at this 101, right? So module 1 is this question.
Right.
So what is that? This, and then we move to module 2, and the same. This. So
and if you go to the trainee logbook, it splits them out there too.
Yeah, so we'll just keep going down, looking at those. I'll just keep developing those down, just like this example.
Oh, and she split the different stuff up too into the different modules.
Yeah.
When you go to the field experience journal, it's the trainee thing. It's about halfway through. You've got a trainee logbook. It's after what if, then you go to trainee logbook. Yeah. It's got a trainee logbook for each shadow shift, and then a field experience journal.
Yep.
Interesting. All right.
The only part, so if we go to site visit drop-in,
Yeah.
we'll need to do,
And this isn't a drop-in, those are shelters.
right. So one of the things she didn't do that we were talking about was make this applicable for outstate places. So maybe this could be the example, the one that people, because the rationale is not in here either.
Yeah, well, and this is the trainee's manual, so it wouldn't be. These would be blanks right here and then we would go to the facilitator's manual and we would say, this is how you have to prepare for it. Because there's going to be some work on the facilitator to prepare for those. And we would have to spell out the fact that you're going to have to be the one to come up with those sites. And this is what you use to figure that out. And there isn't necessarily, oh, wait a second. This is really interesting. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to fit in there, but we'll have to figure out exactly how that fits into there.
So they have do's and don'ts in every one of these ends and do's and don'ts.
Okay. So we're going to have to come up with some do's and don'ts.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so then we have to go back and create modules for all the other modules that aren't represented here using this template.
Using this template.
Okay.
And I'm game for that. We can do that.
Yes, I believe we can. All right, so what is the next step then? Identifying the things where you don't have enough material to fill out these modules, or what do you think?
Well, all of this stuff is
stuff that we've actually talked about.
Yeah, no, this is all, yeah, we've talked about all of this stuff already.
Okay.
So for me, I just need to put it in this stuff. All the stuff we've already talked about, except for number 8, the sexually exploited youth stuff, but that's stuff that's already created.
It is, but we've got to figure out how it's going to fit into here.
So just ask and answer that question. What is exploited youth?
Mm-hmm.
3 things. You know, what is safe harbor? No wrong door. Exploitation. Blah, blah, blah. No. So this is it. I can have the
writing this safe harbor module material.
Yeah.
I think the video, that second video, would be a good resource for you.
Okay.
Yeah, actually the first 2 videos, the first video is all going to be about what safe harbor and no wrong door is. It'll talk about forms of commercial sexual exploitation. But then when it comes to what are the do's and don'ts of working with sexually exploited youth, that second video, the Beth Holger one,
yeah,
that's going to have most of your material for sexually exploited youth.
So I can guarantee you tomorrow,
Yeah.
I can have all of this. I can have the template set up for each one of these. So,
Okay.
So Classroom 101, Module 1, just like this, I'll have it done. I'll put in a space for quotes or stories.
So what I need to do is I need to come up with quotes for each one of these different things?
Yep.
Okay.
So quotes or stories. If there's...
And I'll tell you what, how about if I come up with what I can come up with the idea that if we identify that's not exactly great, or if I can identify that's not great, it'll be a placeholder and we'll come up with something better?
Yep.
Okay.
So I will, so now that we have this framework the way they want it, all this stuff is stuff that we've already generated information for. Yeah, so we'll go over it tomorrow when we see how this stuff is set up, and I'll just set up the template for that, and then plug in information that I can that is applicable based on what we've already done.
Okay.
And so since we have this, we're pretty good to go. The thing that'll be a little more intensive than this. So this is just the I can have the template for the trainees manual.
Mm-hmm.
I can have that all those 11/8 set up by tomorrow.
Okay.
Wednesday, maybe we can, so Tuesday we'll talk, let's split the time between the videos and talking about the facilitators.
Okay.
So I'll just knock out the setup for the trainees and then we'll do the facilitators manual.
Okay.
So the field experience, let's just look at that really quick. And actually I can do class 201 and 202, the setup parts.
Cool.
And then we can, I can do those. And then we can have those ready to kind of look at on tomorrow. So the trainer checklist, this is for the facilitator. So when they talk about the trainer, that's what they mean, the facilitator, right?
Not necessarily, because keep in mind that the facilitator is probably organizing the actual training itself. All right. So they are going over the trainee, like the trainees using their workbook, and they're going through, say, module 1. The facilitator has got their copy of their book, and while they're doing it, they're going through module 1, and it includes all these facilitator tips. Yeah. It includes, so if you were to go through, so that's 101, that's module 1. Why is street outreach important? What is street outreach? They don't exactly match up, but that's fine. So there's all these different things. So the facilitator has this, and they're going through this as the outreach worker is going, as the trainee is going through this. And then the trainee has to go out for their field experience. Yeah. It may be in a community that only has one outreach worker. That may mean that not only is the facilitator facilitating the classroom experience, but they may actually be the person that the OW is shadowing. Right. So in which case they would do this checklist. Yeah. But let's say there was a larger team.
My question was, is there a difference between the trainer and the facilitator? Is the trainer and the facilitator, are they the same person?
I think we should, I don't think they're always, I think there are roles that could be played by the same person, but may not be depending on the situation. So, and I think it's good that we define those things right now. So you've got a facilitator, you've got a trainer, well, you've got a trainee, and then you've got a trainer. So in the case of Streetworks, the facilitator is Jim. The trainee is, let's say, new person 1. And the trainer is whoever you're shadowing. So that could be Zach, Gina, and me. Now, if this is happening in Detroit Lakes, this is Detroit Lakes program manager, new person 1. And the trainer could be DLPM 1 shift. It could be second OW and then DLPM for like 2 of the training shifts. And 1 of the training shifts, it's another outreach worker.
So, training.
So these are roles, shifts. And each role comes with a tool. You have the facilitator's guide for the facilitator. you've got the trainee workbook for the trainee, and you've got the trainer guide.
So what is the role of the facilitator? That
The
is
facilitator, they conduct the classroom.
conduct.
They facilitate the classroom experience.
Okay.
And then they're probably overseeing the process, the training process.
Process. Okay. And the trainer is doing the field experience.
So the trainer is doing the field experience. And the trainer
experience.
could be the same person as the facilitator.
Right.
The trainer could be a designated person for the trainee to shadow, or the trainer could actually be 3 different people.
Yep. That was all I needed. I needed to delineate, make the differentiation between those 3 roles.
All right.
Would you call those program roles or what would you call those?
I would call those training roles, because here's the thing, is depending on your program and depending on the community, you may be limited in your choice of who can participate in those roles.
Okay, so training roles.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And that would be a good way to say, like, I think that might be like a good definition of terms kind of thing. Yeah. It's not the same kind of thing, but it could be on the same page, and it can kind of demonstrate the fact that we have designed this for other communities besides our own.
Yeah. So do that. I'll add that to the list of terms. Facilitator, trainee, field experience, trainer. Okay. All right, I feel good about this.
Me too.
So that's stuff I can do. I got the overall map. So these what if questions. So what if questions can be used to facilitate discussions of other interactivity. These can be stories that reflect common stuff, focus on classroom module 1, documentation, situation, which number of it tracked properly resulted in an increase of funding. That kind of stuff I'm going to need help with.
Right. So we'll have to create scenarios.
Yeah. But I'll go ahead and create the template for each of these, and then we can just pop those in.
All right. So that's another thing to put on my to-do list. So I need quotes. I need to come up with a definition of street outreach. I need quotes, stories for every module.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll need 101 quotes and 201 quotes.
Correct.
For every module. Then I'll need what if for the end of every module. Is that right? Is it just at the end?
It is. So what it, so for 201 is the what ifs.
Okay.
And the 101 is the do's and don'ts.
All right.
What if?
Okay, so I need do's and don'ts for every module.
Yep.
And that's in 101.
Yep.
And then I will have a set of what ifs.
In 201s.
For every module. What exactly a what if is supposed to look like?
So what if is how do you apply the principle? So for example, let's see. me find one.
Go to-
Oh, okay. So let's do street outreach advanced concepts, right?
Mhm.
So what's an advanced concept of street outreach? Let's say the approach.
Okay.
And approach is down here. Oh, let's just go down there. Let's just start there. So approach. So what if a youth tells you to F off?
Right. Well, how about this for a what if? Last time you saw this youth, the youth was asking tons of questions, that kind of thing. This time you see the youth tells you to fuck off.
Yep. What? Right. So those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the kind of stuff.
Okay. You do this.
Yep.
I come up with a couple different ideas.
Yeah, you have all of this stuff. It's all stuff we've already talked about.
Right.
We've already worked through